Hi, my name is Persida Himmele, and I'm here to talk about phonemic awareness, what it is, and why it matters. I got a letter from a student the other day. She was talking about a child who was struggling in first grade third grade, I think it was, to blend words. And she's a Peace Corps volunteer in Grenada. So she said, I'll ask him to identify a word, for example, sat. The student will say whatever word comes to his mind with no regard to spelling or context. For example, the student will say can or with. I'll ask the student to sound out the word with me, and he will. S-at. And when I ask him to put the sounds together to read, he'll say a random word. And I remember this as a teacher, and the answer really is here, that the student does not have phonemic awareness. What is phonemic awareness? It's the ability to focus on individual sounds in a word, focus on and manipulate individual sounds in a word. And for example, in the word happy, the sounds are h-a-p-e. I'm sorry, h-a-p-e. So a student who does not have phonemic awareness may learn phonics, but they don't realize what the sounds are for. They don't realize that if you put sounds together, they make a word. I didn't realize this until I was a teacher in first grade, and I had students who could actually sound out letters. They can tell you what the sounds were. They would even tell me, ah, p, and then they would say, lady. And I'd say, you know, it caught me a little off guard as a first-year teacher in first grade, because they just sounded out the word. They sounded and yet they said a random word, and usually it correlated with the picture. I'd say, no, it's not lady, try again. They'd say, p, cleaning. And they'd just throw in every word they could, until they finally got lucky. But what I realized is they weren't listening to themselves, they weren't hearing the word, and they didn't realize that the sounds that they had learned were actually for a purpose, for actually sounding out words. And so I developed this little technique called ride the wave. So I draw a wave on the chalkboard, and I'd only do this with the students who needed it. Basically, I think we do phonemic awareness a little too much, and sometimes we do it as a whole class with only 2 kids need it. So I would pull a child over and I'd say, all right, let's work on this. Give me the sounds. P, lady. And I'd say, all right, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to open your mouth there, and I'd like you to close your mouth there. Don't close your mouth until you get to the dot. And so they say, and when you have to do it like 10 times before they realize what I mean by keeping your mouth open. So finally, mop. And then they still didn't know, then we try it again and again and again until they got it. Until they heard themselves. Mop. And at that point, it never failed. I'd see this little smile creep across their face, and they'd look at me like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said a word. And then we would just celebrate because they just read their first word, and they'd say mop, and they were so excited. And at that point, I wouldn't let them leave until they showed me that they could really do this using any letter. And we did it again with another letter, and another letter, and another letter. And finally, I would let them go to their seats and try and practice it out on their books. And so hopefully this little technique called Ride the Wave will be helpful to you as you help students develop that phonemic awareness, especially those that have already developed phonics. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.